Hello and welcome to the review for the Safari Ltd Postosuchus. If you want to buy this or you want to buy like literally any other Safari Ltd thing, you can do that over at safariltd.com or amazon.com/Safari Ltd, and you can use discount code Bionic to get 15% off of your purchase. This figure came out in 2008. It is 12 years old, and because of that, I would not blame you for having fairly low expectations for it as a model, because it's pretty old. It's probably aged quite a bit, but it has not. And not only that, but this is legitimately one of the most surprisingly excellent Safari figures I have picked up in a long time. The first thing I want to talk about with this Postosuchus is just that there is something about the overall production quality of this model that feels higher than most contemporary Safari figures. Everything is just so crisp and meticulously sculpted and painted, and honestly, I shouldn't talk about it anymore. I should just show it, because you can see it plain as day for yourself, if the camera will focus. There we go. As you can see, the head, everything, the eyes, teeth, all the little details are just really well done. This figure just feels really well made. I don't know what else to say. You can see that the eyes are sort of this nice metallic gold with a very, very small little pupil in there that is painted to the utmost perfection for the most part. It looks centered and nice. Well, maybe not centered, but it's on there and it's not smudged or anything, okay? It's an achievement. Seriously, gosh, people. Anyhow, yeah, it's just great, especially considering the age of the model. I wasn't expecting something so impressive in hand, even though I've seen it in person before, but I don't think I ever truly appreciated it, and I'm really glad to finally have this model. One thing I'd really like to talk about is the skin texture. This model doesn't really have individual scales at all. It's relatively smooth. It just has this subtle sort of, well, this sounds like a contradiction because I just called it smooth. It has this subtle, rough, cracked sort of texture going on that you can see there on the flanks and the belly a bit, and then these larger sort of lines and cracks that I think vaguely represent sort of scoots or armor plating, keratinous armament of some type. And yeah, I don't know, it's not the way modern Safari figures are made. Modern Safari figures typically have individual scales and scoots and such, but something about this skin texture just feels so lifelike. It feels like I'm really like touching some sort of, you know, integument of an ancient, strange reptile, and it's really cool. I don't know how to describe it exactly, but there's something about it that feels really believable and really realistic. And yeah, that's about it. It's just unique and it's cool, and I wanted to point it out. The overall design of this thing is just, it's really attractive. It's got some cool, fairly simple, but aesthetically pleasing colors. Probably the only part of the color scheme I don't love is the black, just because the patterns look kind of messy. It's kind of the one part of the figure that doesn't look super lifelike. It looks fairly painted on, kind of artificial, but doesn't really distract from the overall design too much. As far as the pose and the silhouette is concerned, that's all really good. It's in just a simple but very fluid and attractive walking pose. I especially like how the tail is just sort of subtly curving and trailing off as the animal moves. It just looks alert and ferocious and just neat. The head has a really nice overall look and design to it and is fairly accurate to a modern, you know, reconstruction of a Postosuchus skull. That's another thing, is in terms of accuracy, this figure holds up pretty darn well. For a while, Postosuchus was a biped. They had just figured out, like, oh, it walks on two legs, actually, but I think they went back on that, and now it's a quadruped again, so I think this figure's fairly accurate for the most part, but I could be wrong. There's probably some small issues you could find, because it is fairly old, but whatever. Got some nice little spines going down the back, some extra little rows of spines, and it just looks neat. My only real complaint for this figure has to do with the feet. The toes are all stuck together. Like, they're not sculpted separately at all. Yeah, you can see it best from the bottom. Definitely would not see that on a contemporary Safari figure. The toes would definitely be splayed out, and they should be, in my opinion. It looks a little weird to sculpt the toes like this, but it's a minor thing. If that's my only real complaint with this figure, then this figure's doing pretty great. I want to zoom in on the head again, just to highlight how good the teeth are in terms of how just meticulously they've been sculpted and how good the detail is. teeth often suffer on closed mouth predator figures because sculpting those little sharp teeth when the mouth is closed is just kind of a tricky thing to get right. But this figure does it perfectly. I can actually bring over my size comparison, the Utyrannus. Now, the Utyrannus is a pretty good example. It does it fairly well, but you can see it's a little messy and a little weird looking. The Postosuchus is just flawless in that regard. So that's really cool. Man, its head is a little shrink wrapped, I think. I think that's one complaint you could definitely make, although it's not too bad. But there's just some really cool, subtle kind of wrinkles and interesting kind of skin texture stuff going on. There's so much to appreciate on this model. There really is. It just, yeah, it has such a cool look and such a cool kind of style to it. I don't know what else to say, so I'm just gonna stop talking and end the video. I'm gonna be giving this one a 9.5 out of 10. Oh yeah, there's your size comparison. 9.5 out of 10. It is not quite a perfect figure, but especially considering its age, it's really good. Anyhow, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you on the flip.